Hey everyone, welcome to our Stamp Club meeting. Today we are going to be using the super fun Gears and Textures bundle and making something that might end up looking like this or could be a little different because this is definitely a card that every time you make it, it is going to look different, which is kind of cool. So really quickly, if you're interested, the products that I'm going to use are primarily the Gears and Textures bundle. This is on page 39 in the new catalog. And to see it a little bit better, this is what it looks like. So you have, these are the dies, these are the stamps. You're going to see that many are the same. And we'll look at these a little bit more as we go through. But today, I'm going to focus on ink blending. The blue side and the red side are all ink blended, and this is a one-layer card. The only thing that I did add on top are the strips, the 1/8 inch strips on either side of what was ink blended. But we're just going to jump in. And as we go, we are going to chat because ink blending can take a couple minutes, which is also a lot of fun. And essentially, I took a piece of white cardstock and turned it into this. And I'm going to sort of replicate it, but like I said, it will look different. This is heavy basic white. I do recommend a heavier kind of card when you're making a one-layer card. It just gives it a little more stability, and also it just feels a little bit stronger when you're holding it. I'm going to take a piece of copier paper. This is a piece that is 8.5 inches long. I cut it to 1.5. The reason I cut mine to 1.5 inches wide is I knew what sentiment I was going to put in the middle. So if you already know what sentiment you're going to use, you can measure how big that sentiment is. And I'm going to use Happy Birthday. This is from Fabulous Sayings. This was a product of the month a couple of months ago. I'm sorry to say it's not available anymore. And grab something that you like. And when you find what size it is in terms of height, then just add a little bit so that the paper that you put down is going to give you some room, top and bottom, so you can place your sentiment in the middle. If you have a sticky mat, and there are a lot of sticky mats that are made by different companies. This is one that I bought from Waffle Flower. They are absolutely fabulous. I'm not going to use this because a lot of people don't have sticky mats or grip mats. I'm going to show you a way that you can make sure that your paper is attached securely without using one. So grab some washi tape, and I'm positioning my card. This is going to be landscape. I'm positioning so it's opening at the top. I'm going to put my paper. It does not matter if you get it perfect in terms of, the distance from the top and the bottom. Just let it go. But get it about where you want it. This is the front of my card. So that's where the copier paper is going to go. But I'm going to turn it over to the back. And on the back is where I'm going to adhere the card and the copier paper together. The reason I'm doing it on the back is there is a slight chance that the washi tape will take off a little bit of that cardstock. It can, and I don't want that to interfere with my design on the front. And when I take the washi tape off, I'm also just putting it on the top of my hand just to get a little of that excess stickiness off. I'm going to pull on the copier paper just to get it as tight as I can. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick it down. All right. So that is fixed. This is going to be my mask. And I know it's kind of hard to see white on white, but if I lift it up, you can see that that copier paper is there. The reason I'm using copier paper is it is so thin. And I'm going to be going back after I do the ink blending. I'm going to be going back and stamping right up against where the copier paper is. And I want a good image right at that edge. So the thinner the paper is, the better your images are going to be when you stamp. I'm going to ink blend one side with real red. I'm going to do the bottom, real red. And then I'm going to ink blend the top in Blueberry Bushel. I have got a piece of construction paper that I'm going to use to, first of all, test and see how my blending brush is doing in getting the color. I did use this on the first card, so it's got some ink in the bristles, but it may take just a second or so to really soak up some of that ink. What I'm also going to use the copier paper for is if I wanted to rub off some of the ink and not get really dark splotches, I can use the copier paper to do that. I'm going to hold the copier paper down. I may get inky fingers. If I do, it's okay. And at first, I'm going to concentrate right on the edge of that copier paper. I want to be able to visually see. And since this is white on white, I will be able to see better when I get that line defined. And I'm just going to add as much ink as I want. And I'm trying to blend it. So I'm moving in circles that are going clockwise, counterclockwise, and just trying to get everything so that it's about the same shade. It doesn't need to be perfect. You could also do kind of an ombre if you want to, where you could have darker, maybe toward the middle, and put more ink in the middle, and then blend it so that it's a little bit lighter toward the outside, kind of like what I'm doing now. But I'm going to probably try to get this to be about the same. And if I get those little areas where the ink is stronger, I'm really not going to worry about it because we're going to be covering up so much of this with stamped images, and then we're going to put some die cuts on the top. So it's really, I'm trying to get it so that I've got my color down. And this one's about done. Probably do a little bit more. Just bring in some of that red in areas that don't really have a whole heck of a lot of red at this point. And I do like the blending brushes that Stampin' Up! Has. They absorb the ink very well. And what some people do with these is some people wash them, some people don't. I wash mine. I don't want to have a color for every, or a brush for every single color family. So I wash mine. And I wash mine with a product that's called Pink Soap. It is one that I used many, many, many years ago when I stenciled. And it comes in a bottle, I think Mona Lisa maybe on it. And it's literally called Pink Soap. And it is specially made to get brushes clean. And it does a really good job. You can see I've already got ink on my fingers. That's all good. Yay, that means I'm doing a good job. And I do have some baby wipes. I am going to just grab one really quick because if I get red in with my blue, that would not be where I'm going. So just going to try to get some of that ink off, or at least so that it won't rub off real quick. All right. So for me, that red is okay. And what's kind of fun is you can lift up that copier paper and you can see that you've got a nice line. So we're just going to turn that around and I'm going to go to my second color. This is Blueberry Bushel. It is super pretty. It's a very bright blue. And when I was putting this card together, I thought I wanted to do something that was kind of patriotic. Since we are getting close to the 4th of July, and we all know that this is a very important celebration, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So you may see a couple more cards that I have them in my brain. We'll see if they come to paper in the way that I want them to. Using this bundle and doing a little bit more patriotic as well. So now I'm just going to do the other side, and I'm doing it just like I did the red. I'm going to go down that middle, make sure I know where the copier paper is, so that when I come back and I have more ink, I can pretty easily figure out where that blending brush needs to go. Be careful when you're doing this. If you choose, for example, to put both colors on one side, you definitely could. But we all know that blue and red make purple. So if you do not intend to have purple, I would not recommend that you do that. And I am leaving each one on its own. What I like about some of these brighter colors, like the blues, is depending upon how much saturation you put of the ink, you get a lot of different shades of the blue. And you can play around and you can make it lighter or darker, whatever you would like. All right. The blue went on a little quicker, and I'm happy with that color because I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some stamping that will be in Night of Navy. So that's really going to pull the blue out. So here's where I am right now. I've got my blue on the top, my red on the bottom, and I'm going to go into the stamping part. And let me just look at kind of what I did. I intentionally put some blue and red stamps on the top and on the bottom. I wanted to make sure that all colors were kind of shown on each side. And you're going to notice that the colors that I used are Night of Navy. This is an old ink pad, but it's still working. Yay. And Cherry Cobbler. I wanted to do one shade darker of either of these colors. And then I have 4 of the stamps that are in the Gears and Textures stamp set. And they have some really cool designs. I love grunge, so I'm using that one, that one, that one, and that one. And just adding some really funky sort of textures to it. And I'm going to mimic pretty much what I did in the last one. So I'm going to do the dark blue first. And there are a couple of stamps that are done with the Night of Navy. Now, this is not in a stamp positioning tool. So it is important. And you could put it in a stamp positioning tool. It would just take a little bit longer, but it would work. It is important that you make sure you can get ink all over your image. And I'm going to re-ink that. And then I want to only do the image on part of the card. I want to do the image also on part of the copier paper. So I'm going to intentionally put that right down. It is very important to give it a good press. And this is going to help make sure that where that copier paper meets the cardstock, that the image is going to get really nice and close. And it did. Yay. All right. So I'm going to do that one more time. And if I'm repeating an image, I like to change it up. I'm going to make sure that it's not in the same orientation. And I'm going to bring that one up a little bit higher and just press down. And it's also good to have some blotter paper behind because I'm stamping off the card as well. All right, so that's that stamp. I'm going to come in with a little blotch in a minute, but before I do that, I actually want to add some of the dark red. And I really like this stamp. It has a lot of lines in it. So to subtly sort of put in mind a flag, maybe, with the stars and the stripes, I wanted the stripes on the bottom to be horizontal. So I'm just going to try to line that up, the card up horizontally. Going to stamp up this image, and I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to press it and give it a good press. And this is darker red than what I use, so it should really pop. And then I'll come back in and I switched the stamp around, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not at the same height. I just want it to look a little different. And then put that down. And then I thought I would go a little crazy. And the last one I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do on a diagonal. I know, crazy, right? All right. And it doesn't need to even stay on the card. You can do however you want. So there we go. Oh, I got more ink on my fingers. Yay.
It's a good day.
It is a good day. All right. Okay. So let's go back to the dark blue, the navy blue. And we're going to add in these fun little paint splotches or ink spots or whatever we want to call them. And I'm going to do that on the dark red side just to give color and contrast. And let me make sure I get ink everywhere. I do, so now I'm going to really ink that up. And I'm just going to kind of play around. All right. When you do this, make sure every time that you go back and you ink up your stamp, you ink it up before you stamp down again. When you stamp on cardstock versus stamping on copy paper, you may leave more ink on one than the other. So if you were to try to do, different generations of the ink, you might not be super happy. Just make sure that you re-ink before you come back. All right, so there's my blue. And then on this side, on the blue side, I want to do some of the dark red. And there's one stamp that I have not used yet that I have out, and it's this hash mark one. It's very fun. I'm going to pull my dark red again. And again, just make sure everything's stamping okay. And it is. And then I will just play. I think that's one reason I really like grunge is that there are no rules. It's all sort of arbitrary. And perfection is not even close to what you need to focus on. So it's so much fun. And I think I'll switch that one around. I'm just making sure the images don't look like they're in the same orientation if they're really close to each other. All right, so those are the images that I want stamped. And now what I'm going to do is before I take that piece of copier paper off, I want to make sure that the line that is right up against the copier paper that's going to remain on the cardstock, that it is defined. And to do that, I'm going to put a little shadow, and I'm going to use Early Espresso. You can't really see it unless I told you it was there, but you can see the Early Espresso. And that just helps give a little bit more definition to the card. And all I'm going to do is a very little bit of ink blending. You don't need to do a lot. I'm using a smaller blending brush, and I'm going to take ink off I don't want the brown to overpower what I've already done. And I'm doing this right down where the paper, the copier paper is. And I always do this last because I want the brown to go over any of the images that I have stamped. And it's very subtle. If you don't want to do this, I completely understand. And I'm just gonna make sure that I have some of that all the way down that line. And then I'll turn it and I'll do the blue as well. And then we can get rid of the copier paper. Just right down that line. And it does show much more on the blue than the red, which only makes sense because brown and red are going to work together and blend a little bit easier. The brown and the blue are not, so you're going to see the brown a little bit more. You could also use a gray. You could also use a darker shade of a blue or a darker shade of a red if you wanted to do that, or skip it altogether. It's up to you. All right. So we've done our ink blending. And any other stamping that we do is going to be without this piece on. So you can go ahead and take the copier paper off. My suggestion is you kind of come in from the back. You can pull the copier paper back and get that washi, and just pull the washi straight across. And that will also help minimize any kind of tearing on the paper. So take that copier paper off, and then pull the washi straight back. And then the big reveal. I think this is always fun. And there we go. I just love it. Every time it's like you don't know what it is that you're getting. And what's really cool is this looks like it's three-dimensional, but this is on one piece of paper. And it never gets old. I don't think it ever gets old. So you have a choice now of what order you want to do things in. And I'm going to follow what I did just to get things out of the way. I'm going to flip this over so we don't have to look at all of that ink. So here's where we are. Here's kind of where we're heading. I'm going to go ahead and put my sentiment in now, and then I'll add everything else. You can wait and put the sentiment in at the end. There's nothing that says that you need to put it in now. I just kind of want to get it out of the way. And okay, confession time. I'm using a Stamparatus. I will never, ever, ever give this tool up because I absolutely love it. It is just brilliant. So I do recommend, if you have one, that you get a stamp positioning tool to add your sentiment. You do want to be able to control where this goes. And you do, I think, want to make sure you get some really good ink coverage when you put it down. So here's my happy birthday. I'm just eyeballing this, and I love the script because it's very forgiving. So if you don't get it exactly right, it's fine. But I'm just eyeballing that. And then I'm going to stamp it in the Night of Navy because I really want that blue to come out. Obviously, you can stamp this with an acrylic block. You don't need to stamp it. You could add in whatever it is that you want. If you have some words that you can cut out, you do whatever you want. And off camera, I'm actually just inking up the happy birthday in the Night of Navy. And then I'm going to come back in. I love this tool. I love, love, love stamp positioning tools. I also have a Misty, and I use that one a lot, but I think they are just brilliant. Because inevitably, if I'm putting a sentiment on something, I don't get ink everywhere I want. And I'm going to do it one more time. And then we're going to get into the final decorating. What I also suggest you think about is back on the ink blending and the masking. This stamp set works really, really well to do what we just did. But think about flowers or critters or shapes or anything you have in your stash. Because, think about this. If the images that were there were flowers and stems or ladybugs and dragonflies or whatever it is that you have, it would be beautiful. And then you could come back in with die cuts that match the images or complement the images that you have on your card and make something really, really pretty. These are some of the die cuts that I made using the Gears and Textures dies. These are addictive. Maggie, you
They
can
are.
attest to that, right?
Yep, I have a whole envelope full now.
Yeah. And they're cool. They are really fun. There are some that give you some just amazing shapes. And I think one of my favorites is this one. That
Yeah.
die
No.
does, isn't that one fun? It does that.
Yeah, I like it too. It has enough stuff in it to make it interesting.
Yeah. And these
Hmm.
three, you can actually put on the die cutting machine all together and just run them through, and life is great. And they're really
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Like that's the middle one.
Mhm.
Um, on the card I did, there's some other ones. Now, one thing that you might want to keep in mind if you're using these dies or others, and you have a card where you're going to be adding these dies to, I intentionally hung the die over the edge of the paper. So meaning when I put the die through the die cutter, pretend that I'm cutting it out of this paper. I intentionally hung the die over the edge. And when the
Hmm.
die cut came out, it was like this. The reason I did that is I wanted to make sure there was a straight line. So if I wanted to put this die cut on this card, it was already cut in a straight line, and it would line up right against the edge of where I've masked off. But I've got a ton of dies, and I'm going to be getting some of those from my little box. This is a Stampin' Up! Kit box that I had from a kit that we used a while back. And I'm just going to sort of recreate the design that I have on the other card, but with some different color combinations. And give you guys a few tips and tricks. One is I really strongly recommend the reverse tweezers for any kind of dies like this because you can grab them. I also recommend that you have a piece of scrap paper. Doesn't need to be white, whatever you have. This is going to be trashed, just so you know, but that you have a piece of scrap paper, which will come in handy. And before you glue anything down, dry fit it. Just take a couple of seconds and figure out where you might want to put some of these. And obviously, you can change your mind 1,000 times, but it will give you a little bit of an idea of where you're going. And you can change things up if you want. I'm just grabbing some of the ones that I cut out and sort of starting to play around with putting them on the card and seeing what I like. And I definitely want to use different colors on the blue. I probably want to use a couple of red. Since these are gears, it was also fun, I thought, to make it look like the gears were turning a little bit.
Mhm.
What else have I already gotten here? All right, I have a blue. This one again, I cut intentionally Now you can, and I will make sure that I attach another one that is not cut because I can cut it after the fact. If I wanted to put a big piece down here, scoot that down a little bit, maybe down in here, I can cut that off. So I'm going to sort of leave that like that. And what else have I got here? I do have some of these. I'm not sure that I really want to use those at the moment. But you get the idea. We're just sort of adding as we want to. And even this circle is kind of fun. And maybe I'll add that sort of like that. Just something different. What I tend to do when I get at least a thought about where I'm going, I get out my camera or my phone, and I take a picture. And that way, when everything moves, I can move it back. So I'm
Good idea.
just going to start by putting some of these down. So using my reverse tweezers, putting a little bit of glue. You don't need it everywhere, because if you put it a couple places, it will definitely set. Now, this scrap piece of paper is to get the excess glue off. So all I'm going to do is turn it over, dab it down, and that way I won't have excess glue when I put this down, and it should be okay. I'm going to add this one as well. But this is where this is I think the fun part, because you can rearrange, get a different color, bring something in that's completely different than what you're doing. And going to flowers. Flowers would be gorgeous on this.
Yeah.
I do like to have a little peek of the image that I stamped on the card itself, sort of coming through the die cuts. That's just me. And then this one I'm going to attach down here, and I do want some of that splotch under to show. Now, when you attach something like this and you're putting it on, pay attention to where you're going to put glue on the back. It's not super crazy, but you don't want to get glue on all of this. I'm really going for the upper half, I guess. So I'm just going to put some glue on there. And I probably have more than I need. It's probably going to go off the page, but such is life. It'll be fine. And I'm just I love being able to hold the image up with the reverse tweezers. It just makes life so easy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up, because I don't want, if I have any glue outside, like over here on the bottom, I don't want that sticking to the paper. So I just lifted that up. So we've got the bottom done. We'll do the top. You can also, this is a really fun thing to do with this kind of design, is you can make your design look like the middle part intentionally interrupted the visual flow. So for example, if you had a flower and it was a big stamp, and the top part is the flower itself, the bottom has some leaves and the stem. When you mask it, you can stamp it so you've got the flower on the top, then you don't have anything, and you have your stem and your leaves, and visually your brain fills in the middle. So it's really kind of cool. Yeah, more ink. Ah,
It's not stamping without ink.
I know. My husband always comes in after he's been working outside and some part of his body is bleeding,
Uh-oh.
inevitably. And yeah, Maggie, you're right. If you don't get ink, you did not do a good job.
Hmm.
And I just want to get that so it looks like the gears are intertwined. All right, we're getting there. And the nice thing about this too is after you're done, I tend not to overdo it at the beginning. And then if there are some things that I want to add, I will add them later. And then I can go back and just make sure I like what it is before I'm done with it. But I'm going to try to do a very patriotic kind of an homage to the flag using this bundle. Again, I'm lifting that up because I want to make sure this is not sticking to the paper. And using this bundle and also the Country Woods Designer Series paper. And I
Oh,
have it in my brain. I haven't worked it out yet, but we're going to meet a week from Wednesday. And hopefully by then it will have actually come to life. We'll see.
mhm.
That's going to be offset. The blue is offset, so it doesn't look like it's right in the middle of that circle. And I'm just, for right now, I'm going to kind of say, okay, it's done. I still have spaces I can go back and add if I want.
How do you know when you're done?
I always stop before I know, just to
Oh,
be sure. And
yeah.
then I walk away and I sneak up on cards. And if
Uh,
they don't look like they're good enough or, done enough, then I'll add a little something, something.
because I have that problem with the grunge stuff too. I tend to go overboard.
Oh, I know. I hear you. I do
Yeah.
too.
So I
I
gotta
just love
just.
using it. And what's nice about if you have to cut any pieces like I am, you can use these. So I've turned it on the back. I also opened up
Mhm.
the card on this particular piece and I'm just cutting it straight across. So the beauty of that is if I wanted to use this, maybe, in here, I could almost come back and add that, or I could put this piece that I just cut up in here if I want to, or I could put that on another card. That almost, oh darn it, that looks cool because it looks like it's right in the tooth of that. How perfect is that? That may end up going there, but not right now. Not yet. Not quite yet.
Mhm.
We'll see. But you can save what you cut if you want, and then you can use it on another card or maybe on the same card and just keep going. So right now, I'm going to stop. That doesn't mean that it's done, but for now, I'm going to stop. So on the first card, I decided that I wanted to give a little bit more definition to the sentiment and the two sides. And I decided to add some stripes, the red against the blue against the red. And I think I'll probably end up doing the same thing on this one. So this is cherry cobbler paper. You can see that this was one of the die cuts that I did that came into the area. I'm not going to need that because I made sure that the piece will still be long enough and I'm not going to get up to that place. And then I also have an eighth of an inch piece of the blueberry bushel that I'm just going to add. And I just wanted to give you a tip on how to do these. So first thing I did, measured to know that I have enough and I need a little bit hanging off the edge so I can cut it flush against the side of the card. I'm going to put some glue as little as I can all the way down. So I'm just adding a teeny, teeny, teeny bit. And I'm going to use that piece of paper that I've been taking the glue off the other items. And I'm actually just going to sort of dab it because I want the glue to almost flatten against that piece. And I don't want a lot of glue on here. I am not good at the adhesive sheets. For some reason,
Oh,
they don't work for
I'm
me.
not either.
And I
They're
just
next.
figured, yeah, it's just, I can use glue. And then I'm going to hold this. I'm holding it above the card and I'm pulling it. And I'm trying to get it straight. I think I'm going to have to stand up. And I just want to have about the same white on either side. And then I'm going to just simply push it down. And what's kind of cool is you can almost shape it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is now attached. And I will just turn it over and cut off the excess right up against the edge of the card. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the blue. And then we're going to be done other than any embellishments. And I'm just going to add be very simple embellishments, just getting some of my whole die cut pieces out. Okay, so here, I'm going to start with my glue right here. I just think this adds a little bit of depth. It does add a layer, but you've already added the die cut, so you've already got a layer going. You know, it doesn't end up being a one layer card, but that's fine. It's all good. All right. Again, I'm just gonna come back.
But it's kind of cool if you tell people you started with a white piece of paper.
Exactly.
Yeah. My husband brags sometimes. He's like, that started as a white piece of paper. Oh.
Love that.
You think of everything you had to do to it to get it.
Exactly. I do find ink blending really therapeutic, though.
Oh, yeah.
Very relaxing.
Any form of coloring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm big into stencils.
Oh, I know. I'm excited for you to share that with us.
Yeah. Oh, I have to figure out a date.
Yes.
Hmm. That is going to be tough.
Well, the summer it does get tricky, that's for sure.
Yeah. When everybody's kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is fine. I just, I don't have kids, and so I don't vacation when everybody else does. Which is horrible, but
No. Well, and our schedule is so much different than it has been in, past years. As far as really not spending a lot of time up north. We'll go up a couple of times, or one time.
are you missing it though?
I miss not being able to hang out with the family and, really good friends that we have. That I miss. Yeah.
Oh.
But we'll be up there in a couple weeks for two of our grandsons' graduation, so that should be fun.
Yay.
I'm just adding a couple of rhinestones and putting them sort of random, trying to highlight some areas that are lacking in some design or color. I like putting rhinestones on places that are dark because I think they show up better.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. That's not bad. And I'm not going to overdo it. I think maybe on the homage to the flag, there may be some additional rhinestones to really be like the stars. on the flag.
Oh.
But there you
Are you
go.
sticking to the size? Are you sticking to the A2 size for the flag?
No,
Yay. Oh,
no, I'm either going to do a slimline or a 5x7,
yeah,
just to give it a little bit more depth.
sure.
But here we are, two completely different cards. The blending is different, the stamps are different in the positions, the dies are completely different, but they were both done using the same technique. So I hope you give it a try. And if you don't have this stamp set, find something in your stash. It will work. And please make sure that you post because I know everybody would be very interested in seeing what you make. And they really are a lot of fun. So post what you make. That would be awesome. And for everybody who was not able to be here today, we've missed you. And hopefully we will see you soon. And I'm trying to figure out oh, here we go. Every time I get into Zoom, it seems like the world has changed. Here we go. I found it. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you so much.